On the telephone line, we welcome in legendary American folk and blues singer-songwriter, a performer for nearly 60 years. We welcome into the program Tom Rush. Tom, Brian C., honored to have you.
It's an honor to be here, Brian. Thanks for bringing me on board.
Oh, my pleasure. Tom, it has been written that your impact on the American music scene has been profound. And I want to begin very early in your career by asking what made you pursue a career in entertainment?
I wanted to meet girls, Brian. Anybody that tells you different is lying.
and I imagine you picked up the guitar to do that.
Well, it seemed to be a good implement, yes.
And during the late 1950s and 60s, Tom, the music industry was beginning to see a boom in folk music thanks to a Connecticut singer by the name of Eric Von Schmidt. And I wanted to ask you, Tom, what impact, if any, did Eric Von Schmidt have on you, your work, the songs you sang, if any?
It was huge. Eric was my idol. He was a little bit older than most of us in the Cambridge folk scene, Cambridge, Massachusetts. But he was the guy who wrote fabulous songs. He found fabulous songs on the Library of Congress site, and he was an inspiration.
Now, I got to ask you about that little tiny venue in the heart of Cambridge, Massachusetts called the Club 47.
Yes.
What memories can you share with us regarding Club 47?
It was an amazing place. They seated about 80 people, and they hosted the local kids, myself included. Baez got her start there. Jim Queskin's Jug Band played there on a regular basis. Jeff Muldar, on and on. Most of the people, however, the musicians there, really didn't have any idea of being professionals. They were typewriter repairmen. There was a typewriter repairman who was a fabulous mandolin player and high harmony singer. There was a psychopharmacologist who was very popular, who was a banjo player. But the thing about the Club 47 was they also brought in the legends. They brought in the old-timers. And you could sit in this little bitty room and listen to Maybelle Carter, or Sleepy John Estes, or Bill Monroe, Flatt and Scruggs. They brought in the giants, and it was very cool.
Now, is that where you first started getting notice, where you started getting notoriety when you performed there?
That's where I started to build an audience, yes. I played there, I think I had I forget now, Tuesday. Let's say it was a Tuesday slot. Played there every Tuesday, and the audiences got bigger and bigger as time went by, and I finally graduated from the Club 47 and started doing concerts around New England and then around the country and then abroad, and one thing led to another.
Now, did you perform much in the New York City Village scene, Tom? Clubs like the Kettlefish, Bottom Line. I'm very familiar because I'm from New York City. Did you ever perform in the Village clubs? Yes,
the Kettlefish was a place I played occasionally. I wasn't a regular there like Dave Van Ronk or some of the New York scene guys. And the Bottom Line, for sure, was one of my favorite stops.
And also Gaslight was another popular spot. You recall the Gaslight?
I do, very fondly.
Now, was that during the time that Bob Dylan was around the scene?
He was just starting out, and he clearly, I remember thinking, I was actually in the studio when he recorded some of his first album. And I remember thinking, songs are great. If only he had a better voice, he might stand a chance. He did okay.
Yeah, he did very well. Now, did you and Bob get along well? Did you hit it off when you guys met?
We didn't go bowling all the time or anything. We weren't close buddies, but yeah, we were, colleagues, I guess I would say. The thing about Bob is that he's such a copycat, because
is he really?
I'm about to turn 80. A couple of months later, he'll turn 80. This has been going on for decades. I turn 20, he turns 20. I guess I should be flattered.
Well, we're talking to legendary performer Tom Rush. Tom, as part of your legacy, and one you must be fond of, and one that I can't ignore. Now, you've been given credit for introducing in the late 60s the new brilliant writers such as Jackson Browne, James Taylor, Joni Mitchell. That's something that you must be proud of.
Well, to be quite honest, Brian, I wasn't looking to discover or introduce anybody. I needed to make an album. I needed some good songs, and these three brilliant writers came along at about the same time with fabulous songs. So I included them all on an album named after Joni Mitchell's Circle Game, including one of my tunes, one of the first tunes I wrote called No Regrets, which is actually the one song of mine that's been covered the most by other artists, Johnny Cash, U2, on and on and on.
Yeah, and I even read that the legendary Garth Brooks, you're one of his fans. He's a big, you're one of his idols, Garth Brooks.
I just got yesterday a happy birthday video clip from Garth.
Really? Oh, happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
Happy birthday. I did not know that. Yeah, I mean, that's a big honor. I mean, Garth Brooks, I think I read something that he mentioned you are one of his top 5 idols of all time.
I guess his dad played some of my stuff back, when he was a kid. His dad would play some of my stuff to the family, and that's where we met, in quotes. I've never actually met the man, but he does some good stuff.
Now, reading a little bit about your history, I read that one of the things which I learned, you regretted early on in your career not venturing out to the West Coast, so you decided to stay in the Northeast. Are you able to explain a little bit more of what you meant by saying that?
Well, I don't think I said I regretted. There was a fork in the road for me. I was getting burned out. I'd been on the road with my band for about, I think in a 5-year span, I had 10 days off, not in a row. It was either recording or rehearsing or traveling or doing promo tours. And I was just getting burned out. And a lot of my friends in the New York area ended up living in New York. I didn't end up, but I, for a while, lived in New York. And my friends there were all moving out to the West Coast because that's where the action was. And I decided I wanted to be where the action wasn't. So I moved home to New Hampshire, where I grew up, and bought a farm there. And quit showbiz. I retired lasted about 6 months, and then I missed performing. I love to perform. So I started, little by little getting back into it. But I never regretted that. I have a strong
right, and you mentioned
that,
now it was something like 1975, the year where you decided you were going to quit show business and become a farmer. I guess it was 75, but then you decided to perform. Like you mentioned, you love to perform.
The farming wasn't working out.
Now, what other regrets? I mean, you've accomplished so much. Did you have any other regrets during your legendary long career?
Oh, probably a few. I should have fired that manager that was wrecking my career. And I should have done this, I should have done that. But basically, I've had a wonderful time doing what I love, making a living doing what I love to do. So I can't complain. Now with COVID happening, I can't be on the road. So I've come up with this online series of songs every Sunday called Rockport Sundays, which you can check out at tomrush.com.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that. First, I want to play a couple. I want to play a minute or two, a couple of songs which you performed, and then we could discuss. Is that okay?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's play Tom Rush.
Yeah. Goodbye, Mama. Goodbye to you too, Pa. Little sister, you'll have to wait a while to come along. Goodbye to this house and all its memories. We just got too old to say we're wrong. I've got to make one last trip to my bedroom. Guess I'll have to leave some stuff behind. It's funny how the same old crooked pictures just don't seem the same to me tonight. Tell my troubles I'm not home today. Just lie here in my arms. We'll sing another song. Tell the world we've gone so far away. Oh, sometimes love's the dagger, but love can be the balm. Love might be the tempest, or love might be the calm. Love can be the fever, or love can be the cure. The world will pass us by, but love endures. All far away, far away. Tell my troubles I'm not home today. Just lie here in my arms, and we'll sing another song. Tell the world we've gone so far away. Yes, tell the world we've gone so far away.
And we just played for you Tom Rush's Child Song and Far Away from his newest album, Voices. And Tom, the song that we aired, Child Song, was a live performance you did 1970 in Toronto. Do you recall that performance?
Oh, yeah. That was the first show of something called the Festival Express train tour. A promoter up there decided he would put a bunch of musicians on a train and go across Canada, stopping and doing stadium concerts. And on that train were Janis Joplin, the band, the Grateful Dead, Delaney and Bonnie, on and on and on. Murray McLaughlin, by the way, wrote that song. I did not write it. It's a brilliant, lovely song called The Child Song, but I didn't write it. I wish I had, but he beat me to it.
And how about Far Away? Now, that's from your newest album, Voices. Talk about Far Away and Voices.
Well, Voices is my latest album. I've actually got another album's worth of material ready to go, but I can't get in the studio. But Voices is the first, Voices is the first album where I wrote all the songs. And Far Away is one of them. I think it's my best work, actually, except the next one's going to be even better, of course.
Of course. And, speaking about Voices, the Washington Post gave Voices a very nice review, calling your work on Voices very eloquent. And what do you think is the best song on that album, in your opinion?
Well, I like the title song a lot, the Voices song, but I'm actually quite fond of all of them. There's one called "If I Never Get Back to Hackensack, It'll Be All Right with Me," which people seem to enjoy.
Yeah, I like that song. That is a nice song. Yep, I heard it the other day. It's a beautiful song. You kind of like put down Hackensack a little bit. Did you have any experience in Hackensack, New Jersey?
Yes, it was years and years before you were born, Brian. But I played a club. There, and I learned, it was a hard lesson, but I learned that I should never play a bar where I have to ask the owner to turn off the mechanical bull while I'm on stage.
Oh, that's terrible. I gotta now. Let me ask you. You are considered a master storyteller in all your music, and I'm curious to know, Tom, what kind of singer would you classify yourself as?
I wouldn't, Brian. I figure that's somebody else's job. The thing is, I'm kind of a generalist in a world of specialists. Even back in the Club 47 days, there were people that just did Woody Guthrie songs, people that just did Delta blues or just did bluegrass. And I did, picked one from here and one from there. shopped around basically, and it kept me interested, and I think it kept my audiences interested as well. That it wasn't just the same kind of song one after another.
And Tom, another song that I really like, one that you sang so beautifully, it's called "These Days," and that song was written by Jackson Browne, correct?
He wrote it when he was 16,
Oh my God.
which is why I hate him.
No, but the way you sing it is beautiful. What can you tell us about "These Days"? How did that come across your desk?
Well, it happened because I met in quotes Jackson about the same time I met Joni and James Taylor, but I actually did meet Joni and James. Jackson was at that point was a songwriter. He was not a touring musician, and his songs were being published by Elektra Records, which was my label at the time, and so I had access to his publishing demos through Elektra, and I loved that song. Still do. I still do it on stage.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful song. I was going to ask you, 2012, Boston Symphony Hall celebrated your 50 years in music. How was that experience like in 2012?
Oh, it was great. It was fun. The Symphony Hall shows I name after the Club 47. Actually,
oh wow!
I get a couple of well-known artists on stage, and then a couple of newcomers, people you've never heard of but are brilliant, and the audience is always blown away by the new kids, and it helps give them a leg up, which I'm happy about. But it also makes the show really interesting, and I browbeat everybody into playing with one another, not just doing their own separate thing. And they're a lot of fun, those shows. A lot of work, but a lot of fun.
And just a question that comes to mind, out of all your performances, which would you consider the best performance in your career so far?
The next one. Of course. I can't pick. Other people have asked me, what's your favorite kind of venue? And I don't have one. I love playing little rooms once in a while, concert halls, stadiums, festivals. I love the variety. I'd love to get up and be able to relate to an audience.
And you mentioned your website, tomrush.com. Let's get to the website. And you started a new series called Rockport Sundays. Let's talk a little bit about that, Tom.
I would be happy to. I decided about 2 months ago that I really miss performing. I'm suffering from audience deprivation syndrome. And so I started this series called Rockport Sundays. I'm living in Rockport, Massachusetts. And years ago, I wrote an instrumental called Rockport Sunday. It was on the Circle Game album, actually. And so I decided every Sunday I sent out a new song, or maybe it's a road story. I just told the one about Clint Eastwood and the hashish brownie recently, and Skinny Dipping with Janis Joplin is coming up soon. But mostly it's a song, just a little bite-sized morsel. One song, maybe a little bit of background of why I like the song or where it came from, and I've had my friend Matt Nakoa joining me on keyboards a lot. He's a monster talent, makes everything sound better, and occasionally he does a song for the subscribers. But it's a subscription series. It's $10 a month. You get a song every Sunday, and there's a library of the past 8 Sundays that you can watch anytime you want. You don't have to watch it on Sunday. And then at the end of 8 weeks, the oldest one gets taken down, and the newest one takes its place. But it's been a lot of fun, and I've got a very professional videographer named Mark Steele who's doing the video production. So it's not super slick. I get to be very casual. He takes his work very seriously. I haven't done an episode in my pajamas yet, but you never know.
And this is live directly right from your house.
It's actually, we pre-record the songs. Okay. We do a batch at a time, but yeah, I record the solo stuff. I record in the kitchen, and you can pass judgment on how messy my sink is if you want to. And then when Matt is here with his keyboard, we move into the living room because the kitchen's not big enough for the keyboard. But yeah, we move back and forth between those two rooms, and it's pre-recorded. They go up at midnight on Saturday, but you can watch, what's going up this Sunday, the 7th. I don't know when we're going to be aired, Brian, but on the 7th, there'll be a very special program where I'm probably going to air the happy birthday video clip from Garth Brooks. And there'll be a 40-minute show of me reminiscing and pontificating about this and that, and 5 songs, because it's the day before my birthday.
And the audience listening can tune into this on TomRush.com, correct?
If you go to TomRush.com, there's actually a free sample there, but then there's a link that will take you over to a platform called Patreon, which is the host platform for this series, and you can subscribe there. I actually just added 4 more levels above the $10 one song every Sunday thing, where there's a much more personal interaction and some cool stuff. So check it out.
Yes, we will. And just a couple more questions. There's a lot of talk these days on the legendary performer Gordon Lightfoot. There was a documentary done on Gordon, Netflix documentary. How is your relationship with Gordon Lightfoot?
We are good buddies. He comes and sees me every time I play in Toronto. He told me last time I was there, he said, "You're the best performer I've ever seen." I was
Did
very
he really?
flattered.
Wow.
Yeah, he did. He insisted on introducing me. He got up and talked for about 10, 15 minutes, which was very nice.
Well, let's hope Netflix hears this show and does a documentary on the legendary Tom Rush.
There you go.
That's got to be done. We got to push for that. And a couple of minutes I have left. So what's going on? So what else have you been doing? Now, I read that you had COVID. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I've got over it. I had COVID back in March, and I do not recommend it. It was a bad couple of weeks, but I never got hospitalized. I just felt crummy and slept 20 hours a day for about 5 days. And then for about 5 days, I was getting better and better till I was 90% better, and then maybe another month to get all the way better. So now I'm all the way better and hopefully immune, although I'm still, waiting in line to get my virus shot, my vaccine.
It's just crazy times, and like you mentioned, I bet you miss performing, right? You miss being out there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is what I've been doing for almost 60 years
right.
on a full-time basis, and then very abruptly in the middle of March, everything got canceled. I had the brilliant idea of offering private concerts outdoors while the weather was still holding, and I did a few of them. And there are a few shows that are still on the books in venues that have figured out how to do a reduced capacity and distance everybody and keep it safe. But 99% of my bookings have been either canceled or moved way down the calendar. One thing I'm doing, Brian, is I'm urging everybody out there to support your performing arts venues every way you can, every chance you get, because the performers are not the only ones out of work. The sound men, the lighting designers, the stage hands, the people selling the tickets. And it would be a real shame if the pandemic is over and we can go back on the road, but there's no place to go. A lot of these places are hanging by a thread. So help them out every way you can.
No, absolutely. And after the show, Tom, I'll send you a quick email because I would like to contribute to that and, to thank you for being on this program. And I see your schedule. It looks like you're going to be performing in my neck of the woods. Let's hope everything's okay. You have Old Saybrook, Connecticut, April.
Yep. Let me just open.
Yeah, I'm looking at the website. You have Virginia, Old Saybrook, Connecticut, Rhode Island.
The website can be behind the times because
okay.
because everything changes so fast, and my son, who runs the website, doesn't always get the news right away. But yeah,
Right.
I do have some.
So it's April 22nd, Rhode Island, 23rd, Massachusetts. Then you're in Maine, Virginia. So it's a heavy schedule.
Yeah, 22 Rhode Island. You're right. Massachusetts on the 23rd, Brownfield, Maine on the 24th. Now, this is not to say these are all going to happen. You know, they could well get bumped down the calendar again. We have several that have been bumped 3 times so far. But I think we not only need everybody to get vaccinated, or at least 70% to get vaccinated, but we need herd immunity, but we need herd confidence in that immunity. And I think it's going to be a while before the performing arts, at least, are back to whatever normal is going to turn out to be.
Well, let's just pray, and for now we can see Tom Rush in the kitchen performing.
There you go. And
so listen,
that's been fun.
Get. Oh, you were going to say something, Tom?
Nope, I'm listening.
Oh, no. So I have a few seconds left. Anything else? So the website is tomrush.com. Anything else you'd like to share?
No, just that I'm really grateful that my crowd has stuck with me through thick and thin, and it's definitely been thin lately. But they're there. I'm definitely going to keep up the Rockport Sundays series after I'm back on the road, because it's, number one, it's fun, but it's also a different way to connect with the audience. It's a little, for the most part, 5-minute bite-sized morsels, and people don't, get bored of watching and tune off before it's done. So Rockport Sundays will continue on.
And very quickly, Tom, if the audience listening wants to pick up Voices, where can they purchase Voices?
TomRush.com again.
Okay.
There's a store there. There's a calendar of gigs and all kinds of goodies at TomRush.com. But there's a bunch of different CDs there. But Voices, again, is the latest one.
Well, listen, it was an honor. I wish you much success, and we'll keep in touch.
Okay, Brian. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure. Legendary Tom Rush. TomRush.com is the website. Until next week, happy collecting to all.